Welcome to this week's episode of Inside the SPHL. A lot of stuff going on in the past week between call-ups, games over the New Year's weekend. It's just been chaos and craziness through the whole league. There's teams scrambling to find players. And speaking of trying to find players, the player I got on this week actually spent the weekend playing in the coast. So he's a Sundridge, Ontario native. He played his college hockey at the Rochester Institute of Technology, where he was part of two AHA championships. After college, he decided to go pro, where he spent a little bit of time in Adirondack, and then he found his home away from home with the Macon Mayhem, where he's been there ever since the 17-18 season. He just came off that weekend stint, like I said, in the coast with the Florida Everblades. And ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you all to Caleb Cameron. Caleb, how's it going, man?
Not bad, man. Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining. So I've been trying to get a Macon player for a while now. I don't want everybody to think I'm biased. You know, there's two teams left in the league that I haven't had a player, and Macon was one of them. So I'm glad I was able to grab you.
Yeah, man, I'm pumped to be on here. So thank you again.
Oh, let's start this out. So you spent the weekend. You did a little call up and down to down. That's down from you. Is in the coast with the Florida Everblades. Tell me about that before we jump into everything else.
Yeah, so obviously they gave me a call last week. They needed a D-man actually. So obviously the listeners don't know I'm actually a forward. But the past year and then the year when COVID hit, I actually had been playing D. So I started this year as forward and played a few games, and we needed a D-man. So, lo and behold, I been playing D and faring okay, I would say. Florida needed a D-man. I knew the assistant coach, so they were playing in Atlanta for the weekend in a 3-3, and it was awesome, man. I had a time. It was nice to be up there playing with some absolutely unbelievable hockey players. Some of the guys from the team in Macon came and watched, Saturday and Sunday, and obviously my wife is from here, so her sister and brother-in-law that live in Atlanta were able to come as well. So it was a good weekend. I was pleasantly surprised with how I fared up there.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool. So you're kind of a Swiss Army knife right now. You can do it all in position. So especially at Macon.
So. Yeah, I keep making a joke to all the boys that I'm utility player of the year.
Yeah, there you go. That's a new award. If you're listening, Doug Price, the commissioner, I'm going to need you to add that award. So, but
right, yeah.
So I didn't start this one out like I normally do, asking a cheesy elementary school question, but I'm going to go with it now after we got that out of the way. So when was it, growing up in Ontario, obviously hockey's big in Canada. We all know that. So when was it that hockey caught your eye and you decided you wanted to try to pursue it as a career? I'm sure you were playing it. Everybody says they were skating at 5 years old, but when did you want to go for it?
Yeah, I really think, honestly, it was when I started playing AAA. I was playing local rep hockey in Almaguin. Obviously, where I'm from, it's a town of 1,000 people, and all the little communities around make up what we call Almaguin. I was getting like 8 goals a game playing defense. So my dad kind of sat me down. This is, 8, 9 years old, saying, hey, it's a drive, but you want to drive an hour and a half and we'll go try out for the AAA program in North Central. And I was like, what's it going to hurt? So, I think, it's funny, funny story is the AAA coach, I had long hair, like I'm telling you, down to my nipples, and all the parents thought I was a girl, skating around there, wheeling around, just flying by guys. And I'll never forget the coach came over and asked me, what was I there for? What was I trying to get out of it? And I said, I was just here for the experience, So he was like, oh, this kid's just out here for, shits and giggles.
Yeah.
But I mean, so then, that was really, my first year at AAA. Obviously I kept up the scoring. I was a speedy little guy. I really wasn't that big. I know I'm not that big now, but I was pretty tiny back then too. So, that was really when I, decided, I can make this step. And, kudos to my parents. We literally drove an hour and a half and, full on blizzards just for practice. Wow. And, some weeknights were 4 hours for games going, across Ontario from Sundridge, Ontario, which is near North Bay, Ontario, to Quinte, which is Belleville, Kingston area. So, basically across Ontario just to play one game in a blizzard and, get home at 2, 3 a.m. and have to wake up for school the next day. So, my
Wow.
parents are definitely sacrificed everything for me, and I couldn't be more thankful for them.
That's awesome. That's really cool. It's great whenever you got parents that are willing to, go all out for the kids. It's always an awesome to hear. So when I got to know, this is the more important question. When did you finally cut the hair?
Well, there was a rule on the team. When I actually signed with the AAA team, my coach, his name was Bob Tom, bigger guy, but was like, he thought he was Herb Brooks from Miracle.
Oh, nice.
So he literally said to me, if you're going to play on my team, that hair is gone. And I was so distraught, man. I was like, no, man, I've worked so hard for this hair. You can't make me cut this off. But you know what? It was worth it. Obviously, I fully, stand behind, look professional, play professional. So, I cut the hair off, and that was all she wrote.
That's crazy. There's still teams. What is it? Lou Lamoriello. He's all about being clean cut and everything in the NHL. It's crazy whenever you hear about all these military type standards. So
that's how. To be honest, that's how we were at RIT. Like, you couldn't have a beard at all, and it's funny. I have a beard right now, but ever since RIT, I've had my mustache.
Really?
I shaved my full face last year during COVID and stuff like that when I wasn't playing, and my stepson had no idea he literally freaked out. He didn't know who I was. So it was funny, but yeah, now I'm keeping the facial hair ever since RIT.
Yeah, that's awesome. Was he hollering for mom? Stranger danger.
Oh yeah. He had no clue. He was freaking out. Couldn't believe it.
That's awesome. That's so funny. I remember years ago whenever I used to wear glasses and I came out without glasses, and one of my ex-wife's kids was just looked at me and he said, "Who are you?"
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
I was like, don't worry about it. Get out of here, kid. No.
Yeah.
But so let's move on to you when you started playing juniors in the OHL, the Greater Ontario Hockey League. That's the term that I found on Elite Prospects. You had a pretty awesome career there. Kind of walk me through that and tell me.
Yeah, so from AAA, I ended up getting drafted to the Guelph Storm in the OHL. I ended up playing one season in the OJHL up in Northern Ontario, again, somewhat close to my home. And then that team folded, so I needed to find a team. I had a few offers to stay in the OJHL, but the team that was affiliated with Guelph in the OHL, which originally that was the route I was going to take, was, try and go OHL, was the Listowel Cyclones. Little farm town, middle of nowhere. I'll never forget my mom dropping me off, 17 years old, driving through the chicken farms, and the smell of those, man, I almost told her to just turn around, take me home. I'm not staying here, right? And funny enough, that place became a second home to me. And I'm so thankful that I ended up going there because, like you said, I was super successful there. I was, had the privilege of playing for two great coaches in Dave Williams and Jeff Flanagan, captain for both coaches. And, my 19-year-old year, Flanny and I had, sat down and chatted and, said, let's look at the college route. And, I had talked to a few teams, but, come January, or I think it was December, January, RIT, had come to a game to actually watch another player on another team, and it spotted me. And, Hilsey, who was the assistant coach at RIT, came down and said, hell of a game. Let me know what your plans are, kind of thing. And 2 weeks later, got another call. We'd like to commit to you. Boom, boom, boom. And I was down on a visit, and that was kind of all she wrote. I was super pumped that RIT was, that interested in me. And, I wasn't willing to play another year at junior. I wasn't willing to wait. I was ready to, pack my bags and go right off the bat, and I actually have family in Rochester. So it was, a bittersweet. Some of the other teams I was talking to were, airplane rides away. And, for me, like I said, for how much my family sacrificed for me, it was, I didn't want to make them have to, spend $500 to $1,000 on a flight just to come watch me play hockey when, if Rochester's right over the border, they could come, drive across and watch me. So, it was a decision for myself, but it was also a decision for my family that, I loved every bit of it and don't regret anything. So that was big for me.
That's cool. That's cool. What was the rink like in that little tiny town? I always imagine these rinks in these small towns in Canada to be the most expensive thing they're in town. It just because what hockey is up there, especially junior hockey.
Yeah. So in Listowel, they have a very beautiful rink now, but back when I played 10 years ago, the Listowel Memorial, it's actually, can't remember what year it was, but it actually collapsed and there was actually some fatalities.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's got some history to it. I think they've torn it down now. Like I'm telling you, this thing was old. But funny story about it is, when we would play at home, the one corner in our home corner was actually a barn door.
Nice.
So and it was cemented. So like if guys were rimming it, you would run guys through there and shoulders were gone. Like, I'm telling you, it was the worst. You wouldn't go in that corner if you knew, a D-man and there was a forward coming down on you.
Oh, wow.
You'd let them get the puck.
Yeah, that's painful. That just sounds painful.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. So your last year, and you can correct me wrong. It was your last year. I can look. So you were the MVP of the league. And you had 90 points. I mean, you were just on it that year. I mean, kind of what changed that year for you that made that happen? What do you think?
Yeah, I think, just buckling down myself and really focusing on my end goal. And then the biggest thing, to be honest, was I had an absolute lethal goal scorer in one of my line mates, Jacob Robitaille. I grew up playing, ball hockey and stuff with him and knew him personally. And I was actually one of the reasons he came to Listowel, but he ended up putting up 41 or 42 that year. And I had 55 apples. So,
Wow.
But I think it's just, in a league like that, when you have the confidence, you hold on to the puck for an extra extra second more, you're a little more selfish. So I think I had the confidence definitely that year and the swagger. And I think that really correlated into my success, along with unbelievable teammates and especially Robes as one of my line mates. He was always one of those guys that, I do the dirty work in the corner, and I've always been a playmaker. I really am not a goal scorer. Obviously I can put the puck in the net sometimes, but just being able to do the dirty work and create openings for my line mates. And he was always that guy that would find the sweet spot at all times. I didn't even have to look, back in my head, I knew where he was at all times and I could just throw it into a spot. And he was a righty. I always, I use a cane curve. If guys know what that is, it's basically the old school Medano Lindros, like pretty much straight curve. And, he was a righty. I say it all the time. I chirp righties all the time. They've got the biggest curves, like Ovechkin, right? He doesn't even have to touch the puck and it's already in the top of the net,
Yeah.
with absolutely, no opening at all. He would always find it. So, I'm definitely appreciative that he was my line mate that year. And he was definitely part of the reason I had so much success.
Yeah, that's awesome. Where's he at now? Did he pursue pro after juniors or where did he end up?
No, he's back home, married, just had a baby, but he's an unbelievable golfer. Like I think he's working on the PGA even. Possibly.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy how golf and hockey like go hand in hand with players, but the games are played so completely different. I mean,
right. Yeah, hand in hand, but you wouldn't know that with my drive.
Yeah, you can't be worse than me. Last time I went out golfing this last summer, it was disgusting. Like it was just disgusting.
Yeah, I pride myself on my short game for sure.
Yeah. Well, I don't even have that anymore. I used to be able to say something like that, but now when I drive, it goes hard left or hard right.
Yeah.
It just depends on what I'm feeling. And then
right.
my short game, it's either too much or too little. So
yeah. And how many beers you have too.
Yeah, well, yeah, that plays a role into it too. By about
Yeah,
the 18th hole, I probably had too many. I shouldn't even have been golfing anymore. But,
right, right.
but, so you were talking about confidence. I mean, that to me, it seems like it's a really big part of the game. Like you see guys even at this level and above, all the way up in the NHL. Like when they're not getting them, it's just not, they're choking up a little bit. Things aren't
All right.
happening. How much do you think that plays into the game when guys are out there?
I think that's probably the biggest thing. When you get from juniors to college to pro hockey, I think in pro hockey you see the guys that excel are the guys that have the confidence. They're patient with the puck at all times. They support when their partner, their line mates in a jam. They're always that guy that's always there. They know where to be, right? So I think confidence is huge. Obviously this weekend I was able to see, the upper echelon of, some very talented hockey players, guys that, one of the guys was Ali Ardi on Florida forward. This guy played 7 years over in Europe in the SHL and everything. And, his line, Pendenza, Coper, and him, like, they walk over the blue line, pull up, they got a few seconds, they move it here, they move it there. Like, it's just like, second nature for them. It's unbelievable to watch, and that doesn't happen if you don't have confidence, right? The second you're second guessing yourself, you're thinking too much. Half the guys get over the blue line and they're just chipping it in, right? I mean, that was me all weekend in Florida as a D-man, right? Get the puck on my hand and it's off my stick in a second. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think the higher you get up in the leagues, it's definitely, that's probably one of the bigger things is the mental capacity and mental state of the player, right? Guys that get it are going to go further. They're going to be in the right place at the right time, and that's them putting the puck in the net or not putting it in the net. So
Yeah, absolutely. That's well put. So we'll move here. We'll move on in your career to your college career, going D1 school. I need to let everybody know that was a D1 school. So, so you explained why you were going to go there, and then your first season. I was looking at your statistics, and they didn't look as good as your last season in juniors. So does that tell me that was it was kind of a culture change, a game change or style change for you, or?
yeah, I mean, I think it was just going from putting up so many points to then maybe gripping my stick a little too tight and searching for that first goal. I didn't get my first goal till January, February of my freshman year. So, by the halfway point, you're gripping your stick a little too tight and you're wondering, oh God, am
Yeah.
I really, an elite player anymore? You know what I mean? So you're sitting there thinking to yourself, when's it going to come? And, like I said, it's that mental capacity to just keep pushing and keep grinding through to keep going to the net. And, I think that's the one thing, every single coach will always, tell you is when it's not working, find the dirty areas, throw pucks on net, whether where you're throwing it or not, go to those dirty areas and make it work. So,
Yeah.
that's what I did. Finally got the monkey off the back, but I think my biggest thing was in my freshman year was just doing all the little things the right way. I got a ton of playing time and I was relied on heavily and, PK and stuff like that. So, that definitely correlated into my game, my sophomore year. So, it was fun.
That had to have been pretty awesome though, as a freshman to get a lot of playing time. A lot of guys don't get to do a lot of playing when they're freshmen. They gotta sit and watch the older dudes go at it.
Right. Yeah. No. That was it. Part of the reason that I loved RIT was I was gonna be used right off the bat. So, the coach had a ton of confidence in me, and just because I put one goal in and a few assists, didn't mean anything to them. They just they saw the potential, and I think that's every college player that every coach goes out and recruits. Right. They see that potential, whether
Yeah.
just maybe it doesn't correlate the first year, but they see it over the 4 years and what you can become, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, and it's really their job to pull that potential out. That's kind of what college coaches are their goals, or really junior
Right,
coaches too. So,
right,
so
right.
that's cool. So you were a part of some pretty awesome teams. I mean, taking some AHA championships a couple years, which I mean, tell me about those years. Those had to be pretty
Yeah.
fun. Winning's always
Yeah.
fun.
God, man, those were the best days of my life. You know, to be honest, going back to back conference championships was, you know, not many teams are able to say they can do that. You know, and with RIT, you know, I think you know, the one year we finished third or fourth, the next year we finished fourth or fifth, and you know, we weren't always the number one team in the conference or our division, but we got hot at the right time.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you know, you have, you know, the hills and the valleys in the every season. You know, obviously we're in a valley right now in Macon, but you know, you got to come out of those and, you know, start heading up the mountain as you approach the end of the season, and anything can happen, right? So with RIT, you know, we got hot at the right time, and you know, my sophomore year was probably the best experience I've ever had. You know, we won our conference, and then we were ranked 16 in the Sweet 16 tournament, playing against number one Minnesota State Mankato, and we ended up upsetting them to be the first ever 16 seed to beat a number one in the tournament. So it was pretty unbelievable, you know, surreal. We were on national TV and everything, and you know, definitely, you know, not only just for us, but for the RIT athletics and the university itself to be able to, you know, help put them a little bit more on the map than they already were was, you know, pretty special for the whole community of RIT.
Yeah.
You know, so, and then to be able to win Atlantic hockey again the next year, and you know, obviously we got some nice rings out of it, and you know, said back to back on it and everything. You know, those are little things that, you know, you'll hold on to and cherish for the rest of your life. And I'll be able to obviously, you know, show Charlie and future kids, you know, for the rest of my life, and be able to share with them, you know, like I am with you right now. So yeah, it was an amazing experience.
That's great. And anytime you get to beat any of those Minnesota colleges, it's always a special moment, because it seems like every single one of them damn schools is just on it every year. So.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it's either, you know, the Boston universities or the Minnesota universities that are always at the top, right? So it was definitely special for us, and you know, I'm definitely grateful that I was able to play at RIT.
So next question: you got any good stories from your time in college? I mean, having a ride like that. I mean, any stories you could share? I mean, just on ice, off ice, bus
Yeah.
ride, plane rides. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, plane rides, you know, we always would go to Air Force and fly, but you know, I think, you know, for me, my stories obviously are, you know, just being with the boys, and you know, partying it up. Obviously, you know, when you're in college, you know, that's the time of your life where, you know, you just get to, you know, let loose a little bit. You know, it's not my life right now with a kid,
No.
and you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
you know, obviously you know, there's a ton of stories, but you know, we definitely had a good time. I don't know if it's good to share or not, but you know, I do have, you know, if you're talking about partying, you know, back in juniors, probably the best game I ever played. And it honestly could have been the game I ended up getting recruited to RIT, so it kind of ties together. But one of our billets had a big Halloween party out in their barn, and we were playing the next day. And you know, a few of the captains and I you know, we went and just got trashed, man. Like I'm telling you, up till 5-6 a.m. probably. And sure enough, you know, wake up. Obviously, you know, you're like, oh man, we got to play. Ended up going had a hat trick and 2 assists, and I was like, all the guys were like, all right, Cam, we got to do this again tonight, you know, because we had a game the next night. So, but you know what I mean? It's little memories like that. Obviously, you know, obviously that happens in college, pro, everything like that. Just playing a little guilty every now and then. Kind of, you know, like I said, it gets you loose a little bit, you know. But yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of stories from RIT, but probably for another time.
Yeah. Later on down the road, that's for sure. I understand that totally. So let's move on to your pro career. So did you when you graduated, was your plan to come and play in, you know, the ECHL or the SPHL, or were you kind of pursuing your degree, I guess, that you were going for?
So yeah, I had talked to a few teams in the coast, you know, and when we finished our season with RIT, my wife's home, so the dog's barking.
Yeah.
When I finished my career with RIT, obviously we were still in school to finish the year. And I had I was an environmental science degree, and with environmental science, because it was a smaller group at the school, they didn't always have my courses available in certain times. So I was having to find courses back home. Long story short, I was taking 6 courses just to graduate
Ooh.
on time. So obviously I would have loved to play on the coast. I talked to Brampton when Brampton had a East Coast team, and then Elmira actually when they had an East Coast team, and was going to try and get a few games in. But, the 6 courses was just bogging me down. And I just said, you know what, I'll just wait. And then actually, it's not even on my elite prospects because I left early, but I actually signed my first pro team I actually played for was Essen Mosquitoes over in Germany in the Oberliga.
Oh, okay.
And I got played 6 because they start so early, right after I graduated in late May, had a month back home, and then literally moved out there mid-July. And our training camp and everything started end of July, August 1st. Played 2 months over there, exhibition games with the Dell team, Dusseldorf. Played a few Dell 2 teams. That's it. There's another story. Speaking of some crazy hockey, is we were playing this Dell 2 team the one time, and it was an outdoor rink. So it's
nice.
Don't ask me what it is Fahrenheit, 30 degrees Celsius. So probably honestly 88, 90 degrees Fahrenheit outside. And you'd be playing, and if the play was down in the one end for so long, you couldn't see the other goalie because the fog. So I'm telling you, some Mystery Alaska stuff happening there.
Yeah.
And the fans would start circulating, and the second you started skating around a little bit more, then it would disperse, right? But I'll never forget, we got shelled 8-1. The coach, part of the reason why I left was because of the coach. The guy, you hear horror stories about Germany and the lower leagues over in Europe, and this coach was an absolute lunatic.
Oh, wow.
Just treated his players with the most disrespect, and so it was just a better decision for me to come back. And at that point in time, by this time it was late September, and I had spoken with my agent and just said, you got to get me the hell out of here. And I was basically for 2 weeks. The coach knew I was probably leaving, and he kept asking me oh, how do you like it? And I can't say I quit, because if I say I quit, they don't have to pay me.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So I was for 2 weeks telling him, oh, I love this place. You're awesome. The team is great. Just telling him what he wants to hear. And then, while my agent was working with the president basically behind his back for a buyout, because, they have to pay you some monetary value to get out of your contract.
I got you.
So did that in time to, sign with Adirondack, went down to Adirondack, and I honestly took a tryout with them, because obviously they didn't know a ton because I hadn't been talking to anyone. I had already signed in Germany so early on in the summer, and ended up impressing them. Played one game there over a month and a half span, was getting absolutely bag skated every day in practice because I wasn't playing. I was a healthy scratch for 10, 15 games, and ended up, getting released eventually. And I talked to Kersey that is actually in Birmingham now.
Yeah.
Kersey's actually from North Bay, where I'm from, the same area. And he had called me while I was over in Germany saying, hey, I know you're going to the coast probably, but if you come down, we'd love you in Macon. And, just, having someone, that had mutual friends kind of gave me that home feel. And, sure enough, like I said, it was, easy decision for me and no regrets. And I've loved it every second of being in Macon. So.
Yeah, I bet. So Adirondack, whenever you were getting bag skated and never getting to play, were you thinking, damn, I should have stayed in Germany?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's tough, right? You sit there and get bag skated, and you're kicking yourself where did I go wrong? What decision should I have made better than this? You know what I mean? Should I have just, grinded it out and dealt with the guy over in Germany? But, I'm a realistic person. I tell it how it is. And, I said to myself, you made the choice. You got to reap the consequences now, or the benefits, whatever may come. Right. So, it was, it was definitely a kick in the pants that I was getting bag skating and not getting a ton of playing time. But in the end, like I said, I've had a great career so far, and it's I don't regret anything. So I'm super happy with how everything's played out in my life and with hockey, and super grateful for everything.
Yeah. What was it like when you first got to Macon? Was the SPHL what you were expecting, or more or less? I mean, where did it fall into your expectations?
Yeah, I think back in the day when I started, the SP was pretty top tier. Like there were a lot of D1 guys. There was a lot of guys that had played pro for a ton of years, and um, you know obviously I had before the year before we had two guys from RIT playing Macon, so I had heard about the SPHL, but before them, to be honest, man, I didn't know what the SPHL even was, right? So it was like one of those like, oh, there's no way I'll ever find myself in that league kind of thing. But I think
Yeah,
that's just the mentality of, obviously wanting to, be the best you can be, right? So
absolutely.
but yeah, no, I had no clue what I was in for, and played my first game, had a goal and an assist, and in second intermission, I don't know if you've ever heard of Dennis Sicard, but
Yeah.
Dennis Sicard was cracking a can of Coke and eating a bag of Sour Patch Kids, and I never forget. I shook my head and I said, "Where the hell am I playing right now?"
Yeah.
So the first thing I thought of when I heard the crack, because I wasn't paying attention, I thought it was a beer for sure. I was like, "This guy's seriously drinking a Bud Light in second intermission." But yeah, no, it was
Uh, he was he
what an
was he was
experience.
he was just getting a little loose for, going and punching somebody's face in the third
Oh,
period. That's what it
yeah.
was.
Oh, dude, the stories of that guy. I mean, like whenever he'd be in the starting lineup, I don't know if you've ever seen video, but he'd do this thing. He'd skate in a circle as he's about to line up against it. He was a right winger, so as he was about to line up against his left winger, he'd swing his arms as he goes in a circle, and then he'd absolutely just axe chop like he's chopping down a tree the guy's ankles, and then he'd stare at him and growl. And I'd be sitting on the bench. The first time I ever saw it, again, I'm like, dude, I got to get out of this league. What is going on, right? So yeah, it was just it was crazy. Like, I mean, that's going on 5 years ago now, which is insane to even think that that was 5 years ago, and that was my first pro year. And
Yeah.
now it's like, now I'm the old guy, but don't worry, I do not chop guys' ankles and growl at them. So
No, but
I'm
you
not
might
there yet. I'm
you
not
might
there yet.
no, not yet, not yet. So give it time, a few more years, right? I think
Right.
he played a ton of games in his career, so they were most of them were in the SPHL, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's definitely a legend in the league, that's for sure. And people like to hear stories about him. I know that. I
Yeah.
hear him all the time because I'm like you. I barely found out about the SPHL probably about 5 years ago, and because I grew up up in the Colorado area, and when I came to
Right.
Alabama, I was like, what the hell is the SPHL? I was like, is this like a junior league, a little traveling junior league? And then I was like, oh shit, this is real hockey. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a good league. I mean, call ups and COVID have really screwed things up between last year and this year, but it's
Yeah.
still you guys are still putting a good show on the ice. So, but
Yeah, we're doing our best, man. I know every team is doing all they can. I feel definitely, bad for the coaches because they're having to scramble, like you said. I mean, it's a new era right now. Will it go back to normal next year? Who knows? I think it's just learn as you go, and these coaches are definitely having to learn new ways to recruit for sure.
yeah, getting really creative. I seen the coast is bringing guys straight out of college right now from colleges I've
Yeah,
never even heard of. So,
right. Yeah,
but
exactly.
but it's pretty cool. So what was it that kept you in Macon all this time? I mean, you had to have maybe had the opportunity to go somewhere else, even just in this league. I mean, what was it that kept you here or there,
Yeah,
I guess?
yeah. I think you know, like we kind of spoke about before, is I'm just a huge loyalty guy. You treat me right, you treat me with respect. I'll give you guys, my 100% wholeheartedly. Um, you know, Obviously, I can say that Macon has become a second home. Middle Georgia as a whole has become a second home. Not just because of the golf and the warm weather compared to where I'm from, but I met my wife down here. I have a family down here, and it's been everything for me. And playing down here for, some great coaches, in front of some great fans. We don't always have a ton of fans in the stands, but the fans that come every single game are rowdy, and they absolutely love us. And it's just the community itself. It can be rough around the edges, but it's got a warm heart. That's what I like to tell people. So I don't see myself leaving. Like you said, I've had opportunities. I was a free agent this year. I've been a free agent in the past, and told coaches, don't worry about protecting me. You don't have anything to worry about. I'll come back. And obviously, it's nice hearing from other coaches and showing their interest that I can be a crucial player on the ice, and they want me to be on their team. But in the end, I always say my loyalty and my heart lies with Macon. And now that I'm married and my wife and I are living here, this is home now. Canada will always be home, but this is home now. So that's the special part.
You're pretty much full time in the area now. You don't. I'm just living full time, or do you spend your summers back up north?
I have been spending my summers back up north. Obviously, with COVID, that was the hard thing on my wife and I. And that was essentially why I just played the weekend with Florida and didn't stay any longer. We went 2 summers, about 6-7 months over the summers without seeing each other during COVID, right? So, to take another call up or go somewhere else and take those memories and those moments away from Ginny, Charlie, Stan, and I, was something I would have regretted for sure. So, to be able to stay in Macon and be a crucial player on a team that needs some veteran presence is everything to me. And to be able to have them be able to watch me on the ice and see them in the stands cheering, and to have a little Georgia boy that is so used to football and baseball and now is addicted to hockey is everything to me. It's definitely makes me, a proud stepdad every single day. I had him at the rink with the boys today, and, he just is infatuated with the guys, and, he I'm kicking myself. We got him some goalie pads for Christmas. And now that's all he ever wants to do is be a goalie now. So I have a feeling I'll have to break out the checkbook in a few years. And I'm kicking myself for that one. So
yeah, that's the most expensive position, man.
Yeah. Oh, believe me, I know.
Oh, it looks like I'm froze up on the screen now, but oh well. You can still hear me, right?
Yeah, I got you still.
It's all right, but so yeah, that's awesome. Now you're gonna have to dish out thousands of dollars for a little goaltender. So that's cool,
God,
man.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be playing longer in the league than any of these other guys just to get that extra paycheck.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I've been told.
So what do you do in your spare time when you're not playing hockey in the off season? I mean, obviously you're a family guy, so I know you're spending a lot of time with the family and stuff. But I mean, what's Caleb Cameron outside the game like?
Yeah, I huge outdoorsman. When I'm back in Canada, I actually run a canoe shop. I'm the team hippie, as a coach and some of the guys call me. So I'm always outdoors. One of my best buddies, Russ, and I have a tradition that we go into an interior provincial park, what you guys call state parks here, on a big canoe trip every year, and just stuff to get away. I love being around people and being in the cities and stuff like that. But every now and then, it's nice to just disconnect and get away from civilization every now and then. So I'm a big outdoors person, just getting outside, obviously with my dog, Stan. We go on a ton of walks. He's probably staring at me right now because I just said that word. But yeah, honestly, man, I'm pretty easygoing. Just love being outside and being with my family and friends. Just doing what everyone does normally. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So, my last question, and you can tell me to piss off if you want to, but so you guys are kind of struggling in Macon this year, and I know when you got signed a little bit later on in the season, I mean the fans were just absolutely ecstatic and ready for you to come on. It was
Yeah.
great, but
Yeah.
what uh, what what in your opinion needs to change to get things kind of turned around? I mean, you guys have obviously done better, and I know when you guys came to Birmingham, Kelly, who is got a call up now, he
Yeah.
played lights out, and you guys whooped the Bulls. But
Yeah.
I mean, what is it what's the missing link? Do you think down there in Macon?
I think it's a little bit of what you and I talked about earlier on in the show here, is the mental capacity, right? I think I'll never tell you to piss off. Like I said, I'm an open book, man. What I tell you right now is what I tell the guys in the locker room. What coach and I talk about. It's the yeah, the guys are young, and we've used that excuse all year, and but it comes down to I think the mental capacity and the immaturity mentally, of grinding. A lot of these guys have never had to grind through these games, right? That's the SPHL, that's the ECHL, that's all these lower leagues, is you know playing a full 60 minutes. And we have a lot of guys on the team that haven't been there, don't know really essentially how to grind these games out. And I think, whether it be, some guys are just comfortable because of the need for other players is, high. Maybe they're comfortable. Maybe we got to shake things up. I know our, Coach Z is working his butt off every single day to find new guys, to bring new guys in, just to, add some spice to our lives. And, but I think when it comes down to it, we do have a lot of talent. There's a lot of guys that haven't been in this league before, and but they have the talent where they do deserve to be in this league. And I think it's just just because you have the talent, now you gotta strap it down and mentally buckle down for a full 60 minutes. And I think come second half, obviously nothing is promised, but I think, we'll definitely, be on the up here for sure. The second half, this weekend we have Fayetteville for 2 games, and they're a team that high skill, a lot of guys that have been in this league and know what to do. But I think with a little extra effort, lots of work ethic and tenacity, they're a team that, we can beat. So I think that's every single team in this league now. We just got to put in that extra effort and, 1 foot forward and just keep grinding. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll leave it at that. And like I said earlier, man, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And
Thank
I
you.
hope, and maybe we can do this again sometime later on in the season, and we can talk about, hey, man, how come after you came on the podcast you won so many games? And was it me?
Right.
No.
Hey,
But,
there you go. You're our you'll be our good luck charm.
yeah, I keep joking around saying that's why J.M. Pietrowski's scoring so many goals in Peoria, but I have
Right.
nothing to do with it. But I'm going to claim it anyways.
Right on. Hey, that's cool, man. You do what you got to do.
Yeah, that's right. I'm just trying to get my ratings. I'm trying to go from 4 listeners to 5.
Right
So,
on. Awesome.
but yeah, man, I'll let you have it. You probably got to go take that dog for a walk now, since you said it. So, and enjoy the rest of your day, and best of luck to you guys this weekend and the rest of the season.
Thank you, man. All the best, and thanks for having me on. Love to do it again whenever you're ready.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks again.
Awesome.
Well, there you have it, Caleb Cameron. That was an awesome interview. So let's move on now. Let's talk about everything that happened over this last New Year's weekend. There was a lot of chaos going on, a lot of games being played. There's some suspensions that were handed out, but I'm going to lead off with the call-ups. So as we all know, the NHL started with taxi squads, and that caused minor league hockey to go chaotic. And all kinds of teams, they were calling players up. Everybody was calling somebody up, and the SPHL was all, well, they weren't safe. So there was 26 call-ups since Christmas, and back on the 28th there was 12 that day, which that's got to be some kind of record. I don't know, probably not, but it's crazy. And they're going on today. There's even more as I record this on a Monday night. You're seeing more goaltenders. You got Evan Moyes, who got called up to the AHL. We're seeing guys go up. You got Kupski's up in the AHL. He started the season down here. Paredes up in the AHL. He started the season down here. So it's crazy. And these teams, kind of, we talked about a little bit there at the end of the interview with Caleb Cameron. It's just these coaches, you got to almost maybe feel bad for them because they're just scrambling. There's teams that all their goaltenders are called up. And I mean, it's impressive that Knoxville is able to keep finding people to fill the net and play. It just shows that there's a system in place there that's working. So, I mean, it's crazy. The Bulls, both of their goaltenders, Austin Lotz played the weekend, and then he headed up on a call up. Hayden Stewart was called up before the weekend. You're seeing emergency backups all over the place. Zach Denny, who he's a Birmingham local legend, he e-bugged in Pensacola for the Bulls, and then he went and e-bugged for Knoxville shortly thereafter. So he's making his ways around the league here, and it's got to be tough for these coaches. It's got to be tough for these teams. I mean, it's awesome for these players. Absolutely awesome. I mean, there's just that's great. They're getting a chance to prove themselves on another level, and they may have not been given that chance if the taxi squads didn't exist. So it's good for them. It's bad for SPHL teams, but it's a development league. I don't know if we can really call it that because it is considered professional hockey, but the ultimate goal is always to get to the highest level possible. And so you always get excited when you see these guys go up there, and you hope that they do well. I mean, there's guys up there doing well right now that they're scoring goals. They're doing great. They may never come back. That's the way I look at it. Like I feel like Russell Jordan, who was on the show earlier this year, I don't feel like he's ever going to leave the Florida Everblades. He's having a great time up there. He's playing well. They're playing him. He's playing his role right, and I don't think Jimmy Paredes is going to make his way back down here. It's kind of like Jake Toit last year. He just he was in the SPHL because that was where his spot to play was, but you knew you were never going to see him again. Logan Nelson last year. I mean, we're seeing a lot of guys that they're getting called up, and it's awesome. We want them to reach the ultimate level. We want them to get all the way up to the top. That's what we want to see. So we can say, hey, I watched those guys and I only spent $30 on a ticket, or so I don't know what every arena is charging, but you get what I'm saying. So we'll move on. We'll move on from that. But this weekend, there was a lot of teams that had a lot of new faces on them. And we're going to lead off with the Birmingham Bulls because they had probably the biggest trade of the year so far. And I don't say that just because I cover the Bulls primarily. And it's because Casey Kolzicki's a name that's known in Birmingham, and he's kind of been a staple to that team. He's definitely a fan favorite. And you kind of never figured a guy like Kolzicki, he's always put on the protected list. You didn't think he was going to go, and they traded him away to Knoxville because, as we all know, Birmingham's struggling. So they got to shake things up. They got to do something and get somebody else. And they traded him for Colton Fletcher. And it worked out. It worked out, I'm going to say. And they also traded from Mike Tisch from Vermilion County. And they played Pensacola. They only played once this past weekend, and they played Pensacola. They lost 3-2. And they were playing well. It was a good deal. It was a good effort. I hate saying that too. I mean, it just feels like that's what you say when a team's losing. It's overused, but this game really did look pretty good for them. It looked even better for Pensacola, obviously. But they went up early. Mike Tisch scored a goal, brand new addition to the team, and he tied it up midway through the first, and things were looking pretty good. The Ice Flyers were up 3-1 late, and I want to say, you see a lot of pretty goals in the NHL, and the next goal of the Bulls scored to bring it 1 goal. CJ Hayes was coming across the slot, and he just left this beautiful drop pass for Colton Fletcher, new addition, rookie in the league, and Fletcher just nailed it. It was one of the prettier goals you're going to see, and it was nice to see a little bit of that happening for the Bulls. It seems like, maybe the confidence did come up because we were talking about confidence with Caleb Cameron. So it seems like there was some confidence there and they were feeling it. And maybe these new fresh faces on the team will make some changes, and you never know. So, but with the Bulls even got a power play late in there, and with about 30 seconds left to go, but they just couldn't close the deal. And Pensacola ended up getting it. And the Bulls fell to 3-17-4 on the season, sitting in ninth place still. That's kind of where they've been all year, I think. I don't think I've ever said they weren't in ninth place, and that's where they're at. But they're only 2 points ahead of the Bobcats. So ninth place is not secure anymore because these other teams are starting to put together a win here and there. And excuse me, and things are looking. They're looking a little scary down there in the bottom. The three bottom teams are falling behind pretty quick, and we are very, very close to the halfway point on the season. And it's like I've said before, it's getting to be time where you're really gonna have to make it. We're starting to see what teams are really made of, and there's just the teams on the bottom now. The time is now. They can't keep stringing together 3-4 losses. They're gonna have to start stringing together wins, and the Bulls are one of those teams. And as it sits right now, as I record this, they still don't have a starting goaltender on their roster with both, like I said, Stewart and Lutz getting called up. I mean, obviously they're going to have somebody by this weekend's games, but that's a big void that they're filling because both of those netminders have done a good job of keeping them in games and stolen a few games for them. So, and Stewart was playing really good as of late, dating back to whenever they shut out the Bobcats. So we'll see where things go for the Bulls. Hopefully they do better. I don't ever like to see teams struggling. I want every team in the entire league to be competitive, and I want the rankings to be close. I want everybody to have a shot at that 8 seed if they're down below it. And right now they do, because we're not halfway through the season yet, but it's just, you're getting that feeling that the divide is there. But we'll move on to Pensacola now. So Pensacola, after they beat the Bulls, they went on to play Knoxville on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And on New Year's Eve, the Ice Bears had a 3-2 lead heading into the third, and then Dalton Young tied it up with 8 minutes into the third period. And this game went to overtime. This seems to be there's been a lot of overtime games. Am I wrong? Leave me a comment if you're watching this on YouTube. Am I wrong? Does this season seem like it has more overtimes than normal seasons? Or like this is a normal season, I guess, but you know what I mean. There's been a lot of overtime and shootout games this year. I just don't feel like we've seen that many of them. But anyways, that's where we went. We went into overtime, and Huntsville fans, plug your ears, because you're not going to like what I have to say next, because this was Jason Price's 600th career game for the Knoxville Ice Bears. So it was a milestone night, and Jason Price scored the shootout goal that sealed the deal for Knoxville. All right, Huntsville fans, you can unplug your ears now. So, yeah, actually, that was a really big moment for Jason Price. We know his past. He had a rough moment in the past where it was very dangerous, shot a puck into the Huntsville bench. Huntsville fans can tell you all about it, and it's on YouTube and whatnot. And a lot of people think he should have never come back to the league. It should have been a ban forever, but I'm here to tell you, people can change, and I don't see him doing that ever again. I'm not going to speak for him. I'm not even going to speculate why that happened. I've seen people do it. It was a bonehead thing. But he's come along, and now he's reached a pretty big milestone, 600 career games in the SPHL, and on that same night, scored the goal that won the game. So Knoxville took that game against Pensacola, and then the next day, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was like a New Year's Eve hangover. I don't know. I mean, these guys are professionals. They're not going out and getting plastered, and I mean, not like in juniors, like we kind of talked about earlier, but I don't know. The Ice Flyers just didn't have as good of a game the next day, and they got shut out 3-0 by Evan Moyse. And Moyse was the guy who, at the beginning of the year, was invited to the Blue Jackets training camp. So there's actually a story that all about it that yours truly wrote in the off season. And so he's got the talent. So you knew he was going to do good. And Knoxville was like, heck yeah, we got our goalie. And then boom, Evan Moyse is in the AHL now. So we'll see. We'll see. Knoxville's next man up. That's the way it's going in net from Knoxville. But yeah, Pensacola, after they went 1-2 on the weekend, they're sitting in 7th at 12-9, 3-1. They've kind of been an up and down team as of lately. Birmingham has played them this weekend, is going to be the 4th straight game for them, and they do well against Birmingham. They don't fare well against Huntsville, but like I spoke to in the earlier podcast, they'd have a whole different record if they didn't have to play Huntsville so many times. But now they're getting to start playing more teams, and it's not a team that I don't think Ice Flyer fans need to give up on anything, because it's a pretty good team, and Knoxville is just red hot right now, and we'll kind of jump a little deeper into Knoxville here next. So they played one other game over the weekend, and it was against the Huntsville Havoc, and this is one of the reasons why I'm going to say they're a red hot team, because they beat the Huntsville Havoc. And I have been I've been banging the Huntsville Havoc drum all year, telling you how good they are, and they've been beaten a few times, but Knoxville, they played really well. So they went down 1-0, and then the Ice Bears stormed back in the second. They scored twice, and then the Havoc, which they always seem to somehow find a way late in games to tie things up. If you remember early in the season, games were going to overtime. They were winning games in shootouts, and you seen that, and you just kind of, you're like, oh yeah, here comes Huntsville back, so they're going to win again. And that wasn't the way that it went. That was not the way that it went. The Ice Bears, they weren't having it. They added 2 more goals. They iced the game, and they snapped the Havoc's win streaks. Their second win streak of the year. Well, I guess they've had 3 win streaks, but anyways, we're not going to sit here and beat that drum. But so now, in my opinion, the Knoxville Ice Bears are the hottest team in the league, because they are just playing very well. You remember when they lost to Peoria 2 games in a row? They haven't lost since, and they're just playing some really good hockey. And they were playing really good hockey at the beginning of the year. They had a rough spot, a rough couple of games. That was it, and they're right back at it, and they're looking really good. So at this moment, I'm saying the Knoxville Ice Bears are the hottest team in the league, and I don't know that it matters the way they play, who you put in net. That's kind of stupid to say. You couldn't put me in net. I wouldn't stop anything, but I wouldn't worry too much if I were an Ice Bear fan about who the next guy in net is, because the way they play, they support their goaltender very well, and that's just the style this team plays. They have been for a couple of years now. So but yeah, as I said, Evan Moyes, he went to Cleveland. He's with the Monsters, and that makes him the second Ice Bear goaltender to jump all the way up to the AHL after starting in the SPHL. Second Ice Bear. So he's joining Jimmy Peretta, who's with the Syracuse Crunch, and also Jake Kupski was another one who made it up there. He's still playing in the ECHL, but he signed an AHL contract with the Colorado Eagles, so we might get to see him up there playing with some future Avalanche stars before too long. So keep that in mind while we're watching Evan Moyes and Jimmy Peretta do things too. So that's about it. So Knoxville, they're second in the league now too. I should probably mention that they jumped the Quad City Storm by and sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. I'm trying to bring the standings up, and I thought I had them up, but I don't. So now I got them up. Back on topic. So they jumped the Quad City Storm over the weekend. They're 38 points now is what Knoxville has, sitting at 18-3-0-2, and that is only 3 points back. Sorry, math is not my subject. Talking isn't there apparently either, but 3 points back of the Havoc. Remember, the Havoc had a pretty good lead early on, and Knoxville's kind of chased them down. So, or not early on, but it's going to be fun. Things are starting to really shape up. We're starting to see some of these teams really turn it on and start meshing, and the call-ups are going to ruin that, but they're not going to. When the system's in place and the guys that have been there are all buying into it, the new guys that come in, they should be able to jump right in, because these coaches are looking for guys that fit. And I don't see Knoxville really slowing down, and I don't see Huntsville staying down after this loss, because that's not what good teams do. Good teams, they keep it going. So let's talk about Huntsville. They played another game. They played one on New Year's Eve. This one was in Roanoke against the Rail Yard Dogs, and it was a 1-1 tie going into the second. Roanoke turned up the heat, scored 3 goals, make it 4 unanswered. After going down 1-0, 4 unanswered by Roanoke. And that was it. The Huntsville Havoc lost 2 games this weekend. So I don't know, Havoc fans, your team might not be that good. No, I'm just kidding. So Roanoke got him, and Roanoke's another one of those teams that I've always been feeling here late. Not always here lately. I've just been kind of watching and seeing that they're really starting to put things together. And I think if they could quit playing Fayetteville every freaking weekend, and I think Fayetteville probably feels the same, I think we could get to see a lot different. But let's talk a little more about that Huntsville Roanoke game. So at the end of the game, there was what was it, under 2 minutes to go. There was 88 penalty minutes handed out. And then with 18 seconds remaining, there was another 32 penalty minutes handed out. Things got out of control. Things boiled over. There was some suspensions handed out in this one. So we got Huntsville's Dominic Procopio. He got 1 game for being the aggressor in the final 5. Matthew Newcomb got 1 game for being the aggressor in the final 5. And Brady Hepner got 2 games for spearing. And it was just, there's videos all over YouTube. I don't have to get into it. I should really start uploading some of these videos onto the Field Pass YouTube page instead of telling you guys to go look at somebody else's videos. That would be smart, wouldn't it? Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll start doing that. You never know. But things just got boiled over. I mean, there was just so much going on, and I don't know what was said on the ice. I don't know this. I don't know that. I just know that frustrations boiled over between both teams, and that is a shitload of penalty minutes. 88 penalty minutes at the 18:39 mark of that game. 88 penalty minutes. I mean, I don't know. Craziness. Anyway, so Huntsville, worst weekend of the season so far. They lost both games. That's something that hasn't happened to them this year. And I'm also going to let you guys know Huntsville was also a victim of the call-ups. They lost Max Milosek to a call-up, and they lost Bauer Newdecker to a call-up. And Newdecker's doing really good up there from what I've seen. He scored a goal in his first game up there, so it's I don't know. Is Newdecker coming back? Is Max coming back? But if they don't, I still think the team's going to do all right, and they'll be fine, even if they don't come back. But I don't know. If the Huntsville Havoc without Max Milosek that's a weird thing to think of right now. It seems like he's been there forever, because he has been there forever. But we'll move on. Let's go to the next team. So we are, well, let's talk about, hang on. Let's stay here for a minute. So the Havoc, they got a 23-1 record, 23-1. So not 23 wins, 20 wins. So after they got that 20th win, first team to it, they haven't lost. They haven't found a way to get another one. So I guess I'm trying to beat a dead horse here. So we're going to move on to Roanoke. So Roanoke, before taking down the Havoc, the Rail Yard Dogs played a very familiar face, the Fayetteville Marksmen. Of course they did. They play them every weekend. I think it's just something they do. That's the way these two teams go. No, really, that's the way the schedules are this year. And people keep asking, why are these teams playing each other so much? Why are they playing the same teams over and over again? Why are some teams not coming down south? Why are some teams not going up north? It's because a lot of teams didn't play last year. You got to remember there was only 5 teams in the league. A lot of teams lost a lot of money just sitting there. And the league set the schedule up that travel would be a lot cheaper this year. And so teams don't have to go all over the place as much. Things might go back to normal next year. Who knows? We'll never know. But you got to remember, this is minor league hockey. This is not the NHL. These guys are taking buses all over the place. It's cost. This all comes down to cost. And if you want your team to play somebody they didn't play in the regular season, maybe you'll see it in the postseason. But that's what that really comes down to. But so yeah, Roanoke. Anyways, let me get off my little soapbox there. So Roanoke won this one too. They won 3-1. They ended 2021 on a high note, and they went 7-2-0-1 in the month of December. And that was really good considering where Roanoke was at. They were one of those bottom dweller teams. Remember, there was 4 teams dwelling around the bottom, and Birmingham was sitting in the 8th seed, and they were tying, or they were overtime 1-pointing it their way into the playoffs. It was a joke, and Roanoke just decided that they were going to finish out games, and that's what they've been doing, and they've been playing really well. Really well. And so they're only 3 points behind the Marksmen, who are in 4th now. And they're in a 3-way tie for 5th place with Pensacola and Peoria. And that that tie will get broken this weekend one way or, well, maybe not all the way broken, but one way or the other, maybe it'll get broken. I mean, I guess I don't know. What am I talking about? Do I even know what hockey is? All right, we're going to move on. Fayetteville, the Marksmen, they played on New Year's Eve. They hosted the Macon Mayhem. Macon struggling. Macon got outplayed in that game, just every aspect of it. It was just rough. And like I said, they were another one of the teams that lost their goaltender, and their goaltender was playing well. And it's tough whenever that's really all you got going for you is your goaltender keeping you in games, and that's how you're pulling off some of these wins. It sucks. It just sucks to lose a guy like that. Great for him, bad for Macon. But so they went into the third period. They were up 4-0. Fayetteville was in this one before Caleb Cameron scored a goal for the Macon Mayhem. But that one just didn't work out. Brian Moore added a power play goal later on, 5-1 Fayetteville win. And like I said earlier, the Marksmen are sitting in fourth in the standings, and we're the fourth and fifth, sixth, seventh place in the standings is a very interesting part of the standings right now. It's these teams are just so neck and neck, and it's going to be interesting to see where it goes from here. So there was also a suspension in that game that came out, and that was Bryce Farrell. He got 4 games for instigator in the final 5 and leaving the bench. So you can't leave the bench, guys. I need you guys to all listen to my podcast so I can tell you this, because this is, I don't know, the 4th time, 5th time that this has happened this year. Stop leaving the bench. You're going to have to sit a couple games out. Is it really worth it? I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. I don't know. But yeah, that's where we're at. So there was a bunch of suspensions handed out after this past weekend. It was a crazy weekend. New Year's Eve, bringing in 2022 with a bunch of suspensions. It was even one that went down in the NHL, and for the life of me, I should have not even brought that up because I can't remember his name, so we're going to act like I never said it. So Macon, we're going to move on to Macon. So Macon played their game against Fayetteville. That was the only game they played, and with that loss, and Vermilion County, who we'll get to in a little bit, who won another game, Macon has fallen to last place in the league. They're 3-18-0-1. 7 points, and they're on a 4-game losing streak. So things aren't looking up, but who knows? Maybe my podcast can give them a little bump by having Caleb Cameron on. Who knows? No, that's not going to happen. I'm not superstitious. I'm just a little stitious. So Peoria, Evansville, they played a 3-game series. Very insane series. Lots and lots and lots of goals. I mean, it was ridiculous. Peoria ended up coming out of the weekend taking 2 of the 3. On New Year's Eve, Peoria won 4-1, and then they lost New Year's Day 7-3. Evansville found their sticks. The sticks found the pucks. The pucks found the back of the net. Lots of goals in that game. And Evansville's Connor Chatham, he got a hat trick, and he finished the night off with 4 points. He had a great night that night. And then Sunday, Peoria answered back. They didn't like it. They wanted to score a bunch of goals, and they won 6-2. Peoria now has won 5 of their last 6, and they've really found the back of the net well. They've scored 28 goals in the last 6 games. Sorry, I'm sidetracking myself. So 28 goals in the last, and 3 of those games were 6-goal games. So they're getting scoring from everywhere. And Alex Hageman over the weekend actually got his 300th career point. So that was a pretty awesome moment for him in the SPHL. Hageman, the hometown dude there in Peoria. And when Peoria didn't play last year, we know he finally went down and got that President's Cup. So he's hoping he can bring it back to Peoria this year, I'm sure. Maybe we can get him to come on later on this season and do a little talking about that after all the Peoria media kind of backs off of him, because I know there's been all kinds of stories back there. But I'm sure a lot of you guys would love to listen to Alex Hageman talk. I know he's definitely a fan favorite by everybody in the league. So hopefully I can get him on. Maybe I'll reach out to him after I'm done recording. Who knows? But off of that one now. So Evansville, on the other hand, has lost 5 of their last 6. They are, like I said, they're struggling to find that rhythm that they really found early on in the season, and they're sitting in the 8th and final playoff spot. early in the season they were top 3 team. Now they're not. They're not. They need to find something. They got a 12-11 record, but they are 14 points ahead of ninth place Birmingham. So they've got a little cushion before they fall out of the playoffs altogether. But they got to pay attention. They are only 4 points though out of 5th place. So that just kind of show you 8th to 5th is very, very close. So 7 points are separating 8th to 4th, if that puts things into perspective. And like I said, there's a 3-way tie for 5th. So we're done with that one. Now let's move on to Vermilion County and Quad City. They played 2 games over the weekend in Danville. And as I said earlier, Vermilion County got another win and Quad City got one of the wins. So the Bobcats, when they got their third year, it was New Year's Eve. They closed New Year's or the year out on a high note after really having a rough start to the season. It's pretty awesome to see a team that's been everything that can go wrong seems to be going wrong. And I'm talking off ice, I'm talking on ice. It's just they just haven't been going well. And it's nice to see them close the year out with a win in front of a home crowd. And in that game, they won it 4-3. It was pretty exciting. Bobcats went up 1-0 in the first, and then the Tommies at Quad City gave the Storm a 2-goal lead, and then Houston Wilson, who was an acquisition after Birmingham waived him, they picked him up, or maybe Birmingham traded him. I would look it up, but last time I tried to look things up, I almost turned my computer off because I'm an idiot. But anyways. So Houston Wilson's been doing great. He scored that goal, and then he ended up scoring the eventual game winner in that one, and it was tied up. Let's see. So Houston Wilson scored that, and then early in the third, the Bobcats got another lead off of a Portillo goal, and then Chavez Leach tied it up again, and you're just wondering if the guys on the Vermilion County bench are like, oh, is it happening again? And then no. Houston Wilson went out there, got the game winner, and that was all she wrote. He's, like I said, he's doing really well. He's doing well. So maybe that's the bright spot there in Vermilion County that they need. Houston Wilson seems to be always on the score sheet here lately. So maybe that's what'll get them over the hump. I mean, with that win and this weekend, they did jump out of last place in the standings, as I said a little earlier. But the next night, New Year's Day, they didn't start the new year off on the same note they left last year. Quad City blanked the Bobcats 4-0. Sammy Bernard got the shutout for the Storm, and Storm, another team that keeps losing players to the ECHL. They're just so selfish, taking all these players from the SPHL. But they managed to pull it off, but Quad City did fall out of second place. They've been sitting there in second for a long part of this year, and they did fall out of second place. They dropped behind Knoxville, and they only trail the Ice Bears. There we go. That's what I'm trying to say. They trailed the Ice Bears by 1 point. I apologize for how bad this is. This seems like 2 weeks in a row I'm messing things up, but anyways, they trail the Ice Bears 1 point, and only 4 points separate the top 3 teams in the league. So very tight race up top. And now that we have learned that Huntsville is not invincible, it might get a little more interesting. And teams got to take advantage. They got to be thinking that they want to take advantage whenever a team has a bunch of call-ups and they're missing a lot of key players. But Huntsville's not really missing a lot of key players. I mean, they're going to be missing a couple from suspensions, but I don't know. It seems like Huntsville's key players are everybody, but so Knoxville's the same way. Quad City's the same way. I mean, all 3 of them got great rosters. They got great depth, and they keep finding guys that can stand in the net and do well. So those 3 teams are, to me, standing out above the rest. Like I said earlier, I still think Knoxville's probably. I feel like they're the hottest team in the league. They're just playing very good hockey right now, and they're making some moves, and I think that win against Huntsville was a statement game and for them, and they probably, the confidence probably went up because, I mean, everybody in the league knows that Huntsville's been dominating things and beating everybody, and whenever you can be one of the only 3 teams to handle them, then it's got to be a good feeling, confidence booster. But let's move on from that. Let's look ahead to this week, since I've been rambling on forever about nothing and everything all at the same time. So Huntsville's taking a trip up north. They're going to play in Evansville once. They're going to play in Quad City twice. So Quad City and Huntsville, this is going to be a good matchup. Evansville will be too. Evansville beat them earlier in the year, but so this should actually be a pretty good weekend. But I'm really looking forward to Quad City. I want to see what Quad City and Huntsville, what kind of game those two teams can put together. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun for sure. And they play Evansville. Huntsville's going to play Evansville the first game of the weekend, so they'll have their suspended players back, and who knows with the call-ups and everything, who's going to come back down, who's going to be up. I mean, I feel like I should probably be recording this podcast on like Thursday morning, whenever I got like the most up-to-date information headed into the weekend, but I'm sorry, I'm not. So after that, so that's what's going on there. That's all Quad City is going to play is Huntsville this weekend. Evansville is going to have another game. They're going to travel to Vermilion County and play them once again. Those teams up there, Vermilion County, Evansville, Peoria, and Quad City, they got to be very familiar with each other at this point. So it's going to be fun to see this the more and more we get into the season, how sick of each other they get, because we might see another 88 penalty minute game in a matter of seconds. Who knows? But Macon, as Caleb Cameron said earlier, they're traveling to Fayetteville for 2 games. Macon looking to bounce back. Fayetteville kind of looking to bounce back. Fayetteville's one of those teams that I don't think they really worry too much after they get a loss. It should be good games. It should be a good game. It just depends. Macon's going to have to. They're going to have to. I don't. What do I want to say? Score goals, stop pucks. I mean, that's dumb. That's great insight. I think ESPN's looking to hire me after that one. But so we're gonna move on. So Roanoke, they're gonna not play Fayetteville, and they're gonna welcome in Peoria for a pair of games. And this is gonna be one when I was kind of trying to be sneaky earlier by saying the tie will be broke. Well, it should be broke between Roanoke and Peoria for that position in the standings. It just depends on who's gonna hold. Is anybody gonna hold 5th solely in the league after it's all said and done? Peoria is playing very good hockey right now. Roanoke is playing very good hockey right now, and that is why Roanoke and Peoria are my games of the week, not games of the week, because I think it's going to be good hockey. Both teams are finding ways to score goals. Both teams are just really good right now. So that'll be a fun one to watch. Evansville, I already said they were going to go travel to Vermilion County. After that, Vermilion County will travel down to Knoxville to play the Ice Bears. So that'll be a fun one for them. We'll see. Recently acquired Casey Kolzicki. If he's already got a point with Knoxville, we'll see if he can make some changes up there in Knoxville and do good things for them along with everybody else on the roster. And we'll see if Houston Wilson, another former Bull, I don't remember if they played together in the season. Rosters have changed so much. It's so hard for me to keep track, and I'm just bad at doing this naturally, but there'll be 2 former Bulls playing each other, and there's probably going to be 2 former Ice Bears playing each other and everything else. But like I said before, I cover the Bulls, so I know a little more about them than the rest of the teams in the league. I'm sorry, guys. I try not to be biased, but I always revert back to it. But that should be good. I think Vermilion County, I think they're starting to figure some things out. I've said that for a while now. You know, they're in these games. I don't know if it was a hangover from getting that 3rd win of the year that kind of screwed them out of even making anything happen the next day, but who knows? I think it'll be a good game. It should be a good one. And then Birmingham is going to face the Ice Flyers for the 4th straight time. The Ice Flyers, mind you, they've been going on and playing other people. They're not selfish. They're not just trying to keep one team to themselves. But apparently Birmingham's trying to take after Huntsville, and they wanted to take the Ice Flyers and play every game against them. But that should be good. Those 2 teams are putting up good games. And like I said, this last game was really good. Birmingham's They're a new look team. They got Kurz there now, and they got these two new players. They got Fletcher and Tish. So I think it's going to be a good game as well. I think every game is going to be good. I say that every week about every game, but hell, I'll go ahead and say it. Maybe the Knoxville and Vermilion County game won't be good, but I still feel like it will be. But maybe it won't be. But that's it for this weekend. I hope everybody had a happy New Year. I don't do resolutions because usually by about 6 p.m. the next day, I already broke my resolution. But if you guys did resolutions, I hope you all can fulfill them. And I know I got a friend of mine who goes to the gym religiously, and he says this is the busiest time of the year. And then about the time March 1st hits, the gym goes back to not being busy anymore. So don't be one of those people. If you were going to commit to going to the gym, continue going to the gym. Don't quit on March 1st. Just keep going. I mean, hell, if you made it 2 months, I mean, that takes dedication. It takes me. If I walk into a gym and I make it 5 minutes, that's a huge, huge thing for me. So if you can make it 2 months, I got confidence in you. So anyways, that is enough. That is absolutely enough of me blabbering on about everything. Like I said, I hope you guys all had a great New Year's, and I am looking forward to a great year of hockey. I hope not too many people disappear from the rosters between now and the time you guys hear this, but I do hope players get chances, like I said. But that's it from me. Until